Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back with our final episode of the off-season rewatches. We're at Survivor Panama, episodes 13 through 15. Finally knocked out 2 seasons in 2 months, which was pretty cool. But before we get to this, we had the big news that actually came from Adam Klein. As shocking as that is, we totally missed this podcast. But this came from Adam Klein. There's a link to it in our info here on the video, whatever it's called, the description.
That would make sense.
Anybody who's wondering where Will was for this last 4 months, just click the video, go to the 40-minute mark, go enjoy yourselves. You'll know exactly where Will was. It comes straight from the mouth of John Kierhofer, says William Arbuckle. It happens right there. We didn't do it. And for all of you who sat there and said it wasn't anything to do with work, we told you it was work-related. We didn't lie. We couldn't come out and tell you what Will was doing. We weren't allowed.
We never lied to anyone.
Never.
I would go so far as to say, look back on our podcast whenever we mention Will. We say he's traveling for work. He doesn't have the time to podcast. He's not able to podcast. All of those are true. So check out the SoundCloud. It's pretty darn cool. I mean, if you just take yourself away from it, like to hear that guy talk about you must be pretty darn cool. So take it
as if Will's ego wasn't inflated enough.
Yeah, so Will, I hope you're listening because this is the only time I'll be nice to you.
Exactly, and it is pretty wild. I got like chills when I was listening to it because he was like, "You got to go listen to this," and he is back now. So I have seen Will recently.
He is physically alive and done with his traveling.
He is physically alive. He is not on season 35 or 36, just so you all know.
Contrary to popular belief.
Oh my God. So what we want to talk about here before we get into this Panama thing, because I think this is worth it, because everybody who's actually stuck with us through these rewatches, you've earned to know what we were thinking and stuff. You're big fans that obviously want to hear about this Will thing. And we can't really get into too much detail because once again, this is something that we really don't even know too much about. Will did tell me that he was going, but I was allowed to know. But whatever. We couldn't make a big announcement. We didn't want to lie to you. We didn't want to lead you on. This wasn't like a thing to get publicity.
So I'm still holding to that. We did not lie.
This isn't something to get publicity and stuff. It was just, look, this is what happened. We couldn't do anything about it. But we have to address that the most entertaining part of season 34 Survivor Game Changers was the theories that some of you people came up with. Just absolutely so outlandish and so ridiculous. I know, Alexa, you have a good laugh on this because you were so new to it, and this is the first thing you say.
And this is what was so, I mean, entertaining is a good way to put it. For me, I want to put the word frustrating there too, because I'm a pretty like out there person. Like if I see something, I will say it. And so to have to hold it in when these people are making these egregious like lies about what he's doing. There's confidence in what he's doing. And I live on Survivor Reddit. That's kind of the only forum I really go on. But there are people on Survivor Reddit promising he's on 35 and 36, which turns out to not be true. And then to my personal favorite, to go so far as to say he is a international marketing director who makes 6 figures. In what world does anyone on the internet have that information? I don't tell people how much money I make. I certainly don't tell my internet friends how much money I make. An international marketing director is the most generic, like 3 words you can throw in front of a title. I saw that and I texted Phil. I was like, I need to log off for a week because I can't not say anything about this.
Well, and what blows my mind is the fact that, like, I'm the one who was seriously, literally traveling to Berlin and to Cannes for work. Now, I was literally traveling for work, and you all thought Will was the international marketing person who makes 6 figures. And I won't tell you guys how much Will makes because I don't know how much Will makes, but I'm going to let you all know just because I can't let him inflate his ego even more. It's not 6 figures. I don't know where you go. We work in the Hollywood assistant industry. There is no 6 figures there. Like that doesn't exist.
If any of the three of us made 6 figures, we would not be doing this right now.
Yeah, or if we were, we would be doing it at a much nicer hour of the day because we probably have a lot more control over our schedule. We'd have a lot better internet. I probably wouldn't just have these white walls behind me at all times. Like it doesn't get any different, guys. It's white all the way around.
Yeah, well, joke's on you guys. I actually have a pet tiger living in my room, and that's what I spend my 6 figures on.
That's where all her money goes to.
Oh my gosh!
So it's totally necessary. we would die laughing. I mean, like Alexa and I, we would just like, Will would text every now and then and be like, dude, did you see what they said about me? And we would just be like, just what are we going to do? Just let it go.
And it's okay. We're going like so off topic here, but this goes back to the conversation that we had last time where we just ripped all of our listeners to shreds and just said, like the internet is not a place for logic and reason. And I have since learned that since putting my face on the internet once a week. Took a while, but I figured it out. But the thing, like, to just speak with such confidence about something that you just are not correct about, and to tell other people that they're wrong when you're completely wrong is just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I would love to know where these people got the numbers and the title from, because those are just ridiculous. Does Will work in marketing?
No, Will was working for a YouTube network thing. Like, that's
international marketing.
Yeah. So anyway, but what I thought was the funniest, and this one you probably won't find as funny, but somebody goes on Reddit and they post that they used to play Survivor with me in my basement, and they used to run track with me, and they used to do all of this. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, who the hell is this? Like, I've only told like my closest friends. Like that's it. Like we weren't allowed to make like a public announcement. So I was like, I'm not going to. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, none of my friends use Reddit and would do this. And none of them like all of my really close friends don't really like Harry Potter. So like, why would Dobby the Free Elf be posting this? Like, what the hell is going on? And I seriously,
wait, none of your friends like Harry Potter?
Not that much, not to make their Reddit name Dobby the Free Elf. You know what I mean? Like, I like Harry Potter, but I'm not like running around like, oh man, Hermione Granger 1, 2, 3. Like,
Dumbledore was robbed.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought it was so funny that he posted exactly what happened, and that's why I was more mind blown, because I seriously had not talked to this person in 2 years. The person who did post it, but I thought it was so funny that he posted exactly what happened. And everybody was just like, no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong.
No one bought it.
That can't possibly be right. You're so wrong. You're so, and I'm like, man, it's funny what people will believe when they want to.
It's all about what you want to believe. That was so funny because it was like really, it was upvoted really high, but everyone was like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Like, this guy is super creepy that he's just like saying he's a childhood friend of Phil, which would totally freak me out unless I knew who it was. Yeah. But he's actually right about everything.
Yeah.
That was a funny bookend. And then actually after that, it quieted down. Everyone realized that he wasn't on 35. Well,
and then they started announcing the casts, not officially, but they leaked, and Redmond wasn't posting it and all of that. And
when the leaks came out, it took everything inside of me to not comment and be like, at Reddit, you were wrong.
Yeah. Exactly.
This is like the freaking Boston Marathon all over again.
Oh God. Jeez, Alexa's really going here. Anyway,
anyways, that was our rant.
Our rant. We had to get that out of the way because we haven't been able to talk about it. We know everybody's been curious. We're still not going to address it often. We're not going to answer questions about it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I'm allowed to say. I only know that Will was there. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. So yes, it all stemmed from PopFest, but go listen to the damn video. What Kierhofer says is 100% what happened. There's no fibbing in there. It's pretty unreal when you listen to a story about how somebody did something and you're like, wait, they're not exaggerating at all. Maybe nobody lies. Like, it's pretty crazy how that type of stuff. What a time
to be alive.
Right? So anyway.
With that, why don't we talk about the finale and the reunion of Survivor Panama?
Why don't we talk about Final Four too? I don't know why you want to skip that one, but we should
it's
probably
the same.
Talk about
that.
It's not the finale. It's not the finale.
All right, episode 14.
Call the ambulance. That's the name of the episode.
Someone call the ambulance.
And here. All right. Okay, we're finally back into this mode.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now, which will probably make you super happy, Survivor Panama jumps way up my rankings. Guatemala moves up a little. Survivor Panama jumps up a lot. And this is going to sound probably a little crazy. And it's not in like my top 10. I'm not crazy like Alexa.
We've had enough crazy theories, so let's keep it going.
I would probably, I haven't really put it, but I think like the next time after the next season ends, we should probably start doing a thing where it's like, you add the season that just ended into your rankings. You can move around like the season that ended before it. So like if Game Changers we feel like grew on us or got worse on us, you can move that one around. And then you get like one more season that you can move to like kind of adjust our rankings.
Bias,
so that we're not always redoing the season rankings every year, but we're kind of like, and here's the one that jumped for me, or here's the one that fell for me. Like, you have that type of thing. And Survivor Panama, I will say, is going to be the one that jumps for me, because I'm watching this for the first time in probably 6 years. I probably haven't watched this since either college or freshman year of college, something like that. My mindset has changed so much to the first time I watched it, I was obviously disgusted Terry and Sari weren't in the finals, at least one of them, and they didn't win. The second time I watched it, I was still in high school, or I think I seriously might have been like my freshman year in college, maybe senior year in high school. So a long time ago. I'm old now. But like, I was in that mindset still of like, how did Terry not win? This is such BS that Danielle wins that last thing. We had also just gotten Danielle at the time that I watched it back for Heroes versus Villains, and I rewatched the season because I was like, why is she back? So it was around 2010 that I watched it. This is the first time I'm watching it with I don't want to call it more mature, but like
an open mind.
Yeah, just a different perspective, I guess, on life than like a high school, college age person. And I honestly think that Danielle winning final immunity is probably one of the coolest moments in Survivor. For as much as I hate that Terry ends up being the brunt of this and he loses and, you know, he kind of falls to the wayside of Survivor lore. As much as I wanted him to win, I really believe that Danielle winning that final tribal is one of just the coolest things, because the entire game, Aris and Terry were in control. And when it mattered most, the two of them, neither one had control, and it all fell into the hands of somebody that neither one really thought could do anything.
And that's what was so cool about the season. And we'll go about dissecting it. But you have, I mean, Danielle is barely even referenced at the beginning of this episode, because Aris is saying, I got to do it. I got to get this. Terry is, like he said, he's playing in Game 7 every single day. And Danielle's like, yep, Bob, I'm going to try too. I'm going to put 110%. But they're not taking her seriously. And I don't think she's taking herself seriously. And that's because how can you, when you have these two challenge beasts just going at it all the time? Like, if I were her, I wouldn't have a lot of confidence either. And good on her for pulling it out when she needed it the most. Obviously, we know how it ended up. But that's what I like so much about this season. It so easily could be Redemption Island. So easily. But it's not. And Terry gets so close, but he doesn't close it out. It's always Terry versus Aris. And Danielle is the one who has to end it. And we'll talk about the ambulance. We'll talk about everything. But I think what a lot of people don't catch on their first go around is the respect that Aris and Terry have for each other. There's a lot of trash talking. There's a lot of wrong on both sides, but they are constantly high-fiving. And especially at the end, it just gets that much more respectful. And it is just two people who are just super competitive and they're duking it out. And at the end, it's completely outside of their control. It's a beautiful ending. Whether or not you're happy with the person, it's the way that the situation unfolded, which I found to be really cool.
Yeah, and I think that Danielle, as somebody who has probably grown a bit through Survivor, I don't know how old she was in this season. I think she was, 22? She was very young. Yeah, I think she might have even been younger than Aris, but she was very young in this season. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I actually think they were both the two youngest.
Yeah, they were the two youngest, because they say that at the final two, but I think she's younger than Aris. And I honestly think that she got pushed over by Aris at the end here. And I will say that if I had been in that situation, I'm taking Terry because of how Aris treated me at a moment when it should have been about respecting a decision and everything. This, to me, showed where Aris and Terry's mindsets were in their life at this point. Terry was able to put into perspective, like, this is the hardest decision of Danielle's life. If she doesn't vote for me, I'm still going to vote for Aris, but I'm not going to make threats to her. Whereas Aris was still in that crazy Kasaya mindset where it's like, this is the first time I'm not in control of the way Kasaya is going. I can't be like this. And he starts making threats at her, which I was really shocked at. But it just shows the two differing perspectives on everything and what made it so great that Aris and Terry were constantly battling, because Aris could easily grow up to be something like Terry. And
Terry definitely could have been like Aris.
Competitive as Aris. So that's what makes it so entertaining and so interesting. Can you hear my air conditioning?
I actually can. I didn't notice anything until you looked up.
Okay, cool. It just turned on, so I just want to make sure. Okay. So there you go. That's what I have to say about that. I find it very interesting. I think that had Aris been in a situation where he was up against somebody who's a little bit, I want to say Danielle's not tough, but a little bit more mentally confident, I think that they probably take Terry because of how Aris acted. Because at this point, it was a toss-up, and you were going to lose no matter what.
Yeah, so let's play a game. Let's put someone else in Danielle's position. I actually don't think many people would take Terry.
Courtney takes Terry, for sure.
Well, Courtney takes Terry because of that. Shane, I think, takes Aris. Sari would take... actually, I don't know.
Sari would take... I don't think Sari would ever be in that position, first of all, because she's not going to win a Final 3 immunity. I think that Shane takes Aris because Shane and Aris were so tight, and he would never go against Aris. And that's what's really shocking at Final 5 is how much it hurt Shane to get booted by Aris. Like, that kills him.
And Shane also had... I mean, he made it really clear at the Final Tribal Council the respect that he had for Terry and how he said if Terry was sitting up there, it'd be no questions asked. I'm just going to write Terry's name down now.
Yeah. And I think that had a lot more to do with how mad he was at Aris than because he really respected Terry. I think this was at a point where he was like, you just screwed me over for really no reason. We were supposed to be Final 3, you, me, and Sari. You went against it for no reason. And he's right. I mean, his Final Tribal speech, I actually think Shane's Final Tribal is one of the best Final Tribal speeches because it's so sincere. It's very mean, but it's so sincere, and it actually has a point to it. Because he's saying, you screwed me for nothing, and I will not vote for you. I can't vote for you for that. Danielle, you did nothing. And Shane wants to vote for Aris, but he can't because Aris betrayed him for no reason. And he's right.
And that's what I like about it. Like you said, he made a point. There are so many people now who may, and actually, you know what? I'll give that as a check in the pro box for the new Final Tribal setup. But so many people go up there and they make this big, mean, like egregious comment just to be that person who made the comment. But like you said, Shane's was real. There was no reason for Aris to get rid of him, and he never liked Danielle. So it was in a sense very fitting. And what I found to be so great about it is he says, you're poor, you're homeless, you're poor, you freeload off your dad's couch. And for Aris to just flip that around, even though he doesn't get Shane's vote, to flip that around and say, I'm poor, so I need this. I thought that was very well handled. And you can see when Aris says for, that's the part that gets to him. I think that sentence is what gets to Aris. And you can see in his eyes the way when he says for, he is just like, this guy just went so far, like, get him out of my way.
And I think that's what's so interesting about Aris is that I think that probably up to this point in his life, he'd always played sports and he might have been captains of teams, but this is a guy who was living with his dad. I love also you get to see Vetus at the reunion, but anyway.
Yeah, with his hair so long.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's living with his father. He's freeloading, as Shane calls it. And I think it's interesting that he was put on this island and literally took control in the zany way that you could see why this was a guy who was still living with his father. Like, you could see why, and there's nothing wrong with that. Most of my friends still live with their parents. The only reason I don't is because I moved to the other side of the country. But if I lived in New Jersey, I'd probably still be living with them.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to be living at home.
Yeah, but I just think that it's very interesting how you could see why Aris might not have had a job, might not, because of his own zany personality that actually worked so well on the season and ended up being what won him the $1 million.
And on the topic of Aris and Danielle being the two youngest, you have Shane, who maybe didn't like all this time we've talked about how crazy Shane was, but Shane had more life experience than them. Bruce had more life experience. All he was talking about is, like, what are you guys going to do with the money? Which I always love as a question because the answers are always such BS.
And both of those were such BS. Aris went on to make Russian hats. Yeah, that's what he did.
Really
Russian sports. Look that up. It's so funny. But continue.
I actually am about to look that up. If someone can link that for the lazy, that would be awesome.
That came from Blake, by the way.
Thanks, Blake. So Bruce has that going for him. Terry has that going for him. So you have a lot of people who are just, on the whole, more experienced or more mature than them, being forced to pick between the two of them. So it's just a really interesting, like, psychological dynamic, which is why this show is so amazing. Yeah. But that was another thing that I wanted to comment on, because a lot of times we see Terry saying, you're a 24-year-old, like, you don't get it. And then for Aris to say, okay, I am a 24-year-old and maybe I don't get it, but you are still wrong about this. And my opinion shouldn't be invalidated just because I'm 24.
I think What I will say on this, sorry to interrupt you, but I think that I think that Aris probably acts a lot more childish throughout that show than we saw, but he also goes on to win. So how unlikable can you make him? And I do think that that's why a lot of the comments are always from Terry. You're a 24-year-old. You don't know what you're talking about. Because I honestly think that Aris was probably acting a lot more immature than we were led to believe, because you have to build him up as a winner. I do believe, though, that Aris is one of the forgotten winners, and had he not come back for Blood versus Water, he's completely, really forgotten. And I really do think that he did a very good job of handling himself to get all the way to the end, and to get 5 votes. And really, he should have gotten 6, but I think Shane just knew it was over anyway and just didn't care.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. And I think another reason why I'm okay with elevating Aris is because, yeah, he made a bunch of blunders, which I did not miss I totally missed my first time around. And so I'm glad we're overanalyzing this, because now I'm realizing I understand why people rank him a little bit lower than I would, even though I don't rank winners. But on the flip side, this goes back to like us being like 24, 25-year-olds. Just because we don't have life experience doesn't mean that every single thing that he does is wrong. And out of that group, like, take 3 out of that, he was the only one with his head on straight, relatively. And a lot of things he had to say were, I need to be focused. Like, Terry riled me up, but we have a respect for each other. A lot of, especially near the end, it was very existential, and a lot of what he said was right. And he had a lot of emotional outbursts, but you know what? So did everyone else on that island.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the whole point of the season. It's an emotional season for sure. I mean, at this Final Four, I think that this is another example where Terry loses. And Terry is saying at the end, I messed up on this. Like, he literally says, I messed up, but I want to be clear on it. And Aris wouldn't even let him get that sentence out of his mouth. And it's like, Aris, you beat him once. You know he still has the idol. Just shut up, because it wasn't for immunity. If you lose the next challenge, Terry's going to come after you. He's going to get all 3 people to vote for you. Or he's going to throw somebody against you who can make a fire better than you.
Well, I don't think he would have gotten 3 to vote against him. But yeah, I get where you're coming from.
I don't know about that.
So I don't agree. Good reference.
I don't know about that. I really don't, though.
I don't know about that.
I don't.
So yeah, I don't like his outburst there was ridiculous. And also so the one thing I like about the Wambulance is it is wrapped up quickly, and they wrap it up. Aris and Terry wrap it up better than any of us could. Aris went out there and said, look, I said that in the heat of a moment. I didn't mean it. It came out. And they shook hands like adults and moved on. That's why I like it. There's no
Was it the woman thing, or was that it?
It was the woman thing. Yeah.
It was the woman thing. So yeah, that was my biggest problem with this. And I think you're 100% right, because I'm getting 5 and 4 confused because I watched them on Saturday. But I think you're 100% right. Aris immediately realized what he did wrong here, and he had to, because doing that and saying that, imagine saying that now. This was 2006. Times were a lot different. Imagine saying that about somebody now. You'd have like Jezebel or something being like, oh my God, Terry hates women, and it's like the end of the world. Terry's done. You know, so here's a Navy fighter pilot whose life would literally be ruined because of one thing that somebody said.
And that's what I like so much about it, for them to both just be like, you know what, like they were heating up anyways. Someone's lid was going to blow off, and it was Aris's who did. And then they turned around and they were like, yeah, you know what, like that was kind of stupid, but you know, like you didn't mean it, you said it anyway. So that's why I'm okay with it, because it was buttoned up and done, and it was fine. That was it. And the thing about Terry getting the clarification, the only reason, like, I don't agree with what Aris did whatsoever, but I mentally get why he thought it was Terry complaining. I don't agree with the fact that he thought it was Terry complaining, but I understand why he thought that.
Yeah, and I think this was the difference between, I think that this moment is the difference between Terry and Aris, is Terry instantly says, I messed this up. Whereas Aris had to take like the day to be like, I messed that up. You know what I mean? And that's fine. Like, you look retrospectively at stuff. But Terry was running back on the course going, he should have been back by now. He should have been back by now. What's going on? And then, you know, whatever, Aris and Jeff's like, no, that's fine. And Terry's like, oh my God, you didn't tell us that. You didn't tell us that. That is a natural reaction to have. That's a natural emotional reaction of like, I just blew this. You got to blame Jeff in that moment, because it's like, you didn't tell us that. You didn't tell us that. Aris screams his great line of "call the ambulance." Terry's crying on the chorus. Aris goes on to win. Terry comes back. He's trying to get clarification, saying, "I missed this, but I want to understand." And Aris, I think at this moment was just like, "I finally beat you. Would you shut the hell up? I finally beat you. I hate you." And he's like, and when Aris says every time that this happens, he's going to blame it on somebody else, and it's like, Aris, how would you know? You've never beat. It
hasn't happened yet. So that's the thing. Like, it's one of those emotional outbursts that like they were both completely in the right and also completely in the wrong. Like the whole situation was just a bunch of emotions. And it's kind of like, it was that funny compilation beforehand where they're fishing and they're frying the rice and they're doing all the stuff. And Danielle's like, yeah, the dudes like have too much testosterone. So I'm just going to sit here and let them duke it out.
Yeah, exactly. And at that point, I mean, this season, the main storyline is Aris versus Terry. I mean, Cirie's underdog storyline, I think, is the B story of this season because it's a great story. But the main storyline of this is Aris versus Terry, which goes from really pretty much day 3 all the way through because Aris and Terry are the leaders. So as soon as New Lamina and New Kasaya are formed, it's Aris versus Terry. Yeah. I mean, that's really the beginning of that, even though you're only seeing it from the outside. And then it goes on all the way to Final 3 where Danielle decides who wins.
And yeah, for sure. And when you bring up that Cerise storyline was the B story, I have never realized how much lower it is. That Cerise thing, I mean, they talk about it a lot, but unless you're looking for it, she's like, oh yeah, she was afraid of leaves. And she caught a fish and she started a fire. But like, other than that, it's I guess like the growth of a character is so different in these older seasons that obviously like the pedestal that we put her on is so deserved. But when you watch it, you kind of have to look for it because the Kasaya versus Terry thing is just so much louder.
Well, and it's very hard. It's very hard to look at Panama with a fresh perspective on the Cirie thing because we all know what Cirie becomes. We all know her Micronesia game. We all know how early she goes in Heroes vs. Villains. We all know that we just watched her. So it's very hard to watch it with an open mindset being like, oh, Cirie's just doing her thing. And I know she wins the car, and I know Jeff calls her one of the most popular survivors ever. But from what I remember at the time, and Survivor was still being watched by a good amount of people, at least, who would talk about it publicly. I do remember most people were rooting for Terry. And maybe that's just where I'm from. I don't know. But I feel like most people liked Terry more than they liked Cirie in this.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. I actually remember when I was watching the reunion, I was like, Terry doesn't win twice, does he? Because you just assume he's going to win the fan vote. And I think a lot of us, I remember liking her. I remember like our whole family liked her, but when we thought of Survivor Panama, Cirie was not the first person we thought of. She was easily like top 3, top 5, but Cirie wasn't the face of Survivor Panama until now.
Yeah, and I honestly believe it's Aris versus Terry. Shane's mental breakdown might actually be the B story over Cirie's underdog story. I mean, you could really make an argument for Shane's mental breakdown being probably the most important storyline of the season because he's literally what keeps them together and what breaks them apart at the same time. And he's doing it from day 1. He's losing his mind from day 1 all the way through.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Cirie shines in episode 1 so that she doesn't go home. And then she plays a beautiful game by just slipping through the cracks and just like being quiet. So we lose a little bit of her. And what we get from Shane is 60 cigarettes a day for his entire life. And now he's cold turkey. And he misses his son. And this was the biggest mistake of his life. So the Shane storyline, at least in the pre-merge, and it carries on over into the post-merge, is much, again, I think it's just louder is the word I'm going with, because Cirie's not out there saying, look, I've grown, look at me, I'm growing. Because
until the end, which she does.
Until the end.
Which is great.
Yeah, and then it kind of naturally happens, and they all love her for it, like they're all supporting her for it. So I think that has a lot to do with the fact that her experience or her storyline is more organic, maybe, than more organic and more natural than, oh my God, there's no nicotine in my body, or we're 2 battering rams who fight.
And here's what I'll say about this too. And this very well could have happened. And granted, it's so much later now. Who the hell knows? Terry won a car. Does Survivor really want to give him 2 cars? He wins that fan vote. Are they really going to hand him a second car?
I was thinking that.
There's a big difference. I think it was season 14 or 15. I think it was season 15, where they finally started doing the $100,000 prize. James won it in China and in Micronesia. I really believe that had it been $100,000, Terry might have won it. But because they were giving away a car and it was the same car, if Terry wins that vote, they're not giving him the car. That's ridiculous.
Terry and Trish just like,
yeah, they're just going to be cruising in GMCs. Like, yeah, we're winning. Like, no, that's not going to happen. And if you notice, most of the time, and I think they had done it previously, they announce who the runner-up is or who the final 2 or 3 are, because they did it in China. They do it in Fiji. They do it in Cook Islands because it's Yule and I think it's Ozzy and Yule or something like that. They do it throughout. So for this season, for them to just be like, here's your car, Surrey. I almost feel like it was, Terry, we're not giving you the car. Do you understand why? Like, yeah, I feel like that's kind of
be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it helps that you had 2 super popular players. So it's not like Courtney, the fan favorite, gets a car.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like a season where literally like it was like clearly like Yao Man in Fiji. Like he was everybody's favorite. It's not like Yao Man had already won the car and then it's like, and now we're going to give it to Cassandra. Like, woohoo. Like you can't do that. So it's nice that this happened. Good for Suri. I thought it was great at the reunion when Terry pulls out the fish thing for her.
That thing was awesome.
I really do want to talk about Suri's argument with Terry. And I think Terry and Suri being the 2 older, 2 more mature, blah, 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 whatever you want to say about them. I think it's great that they butt heads. I think it's great that in the game they do not like each other, but outside of the game, I think they have such a respect for each other. And this is what I like about new school Survivor as opposed to, or I'm sorry, old school Survivor as opposed to new school. New school Survivor players, some of them are the worst people. And like, I'm not going to say any names. I'm really not. But there are some people out there who they come on the show, they get super mad, they get super offended, and then they like try to cut people's heads off. And, you know, it happens a lot more frequently now than it did back then where people could be like, you know what? You hosed me. And like, that's like a millennials versus Gen X thing. I love like Jay gets hosed by David or, you know, all these things happen. These things come out. People get mad at each other. They never held it over each other's heads. And there's a lot of newer seasons where people just couldn't let it go.
And I think there's probably so many different reasons that it happens. But the first thing that I think of is now there's so many, I think because like the overall fan base of Survivor has shrunk, unfortunately. A lot of the people who are cast are super fans and they're diehard Survivor fans and they know everything about Survivor. They studied Survivor. They've written essays about Survivor. And so to go on and to lose when you are such a super fan, it's such an ego thing. And I think people think, okay, I know Survivor better than anyone else, and I got voted out 4th. Like, I'm upset about this. And I think it all just comes down to an ego thing and not being able to realize, like, hey, this is a game. Like, the game is going to be played differently every single time. You get the exact same cast, you throw them on, it's going to be different. But then on the flip side, well, I don't want to talk about Game Changers because that was a returning season. Yeah. But I think Millennials versus Gen X, having that be our most recent all newbie season is a little different because I think that season was different from most of our new school seasons, but there isn't any bitterness in Millennials versus Gen X because it's like, hey, peeps, hey, friends, we're playing a game. Like, we're just here to play a game. When on the flip side, you have Co-Wrong, which is, I don't like talking about the Co-Wrong jury because someone's going to, like, murder me in my sleep. Yeah. But they were more upset than the Millennials versus Gen X jury.
And they still hold it against each other. I mean, you can tell that there's a lot of them who still don't get along in real life because of it. So it's an interesting thing where, like, back then it was everybody was going out there for the adventure and stuff. And what's happening now a lot is there's a lot of people are going out there for the notoriety, for their 15 minutes. Like, a lot of people are trying to get on because of that. And really, Survivor kind of did this to themselves a little bit when they started casting people who went on to be models, went on to be actors, went on to be writers, like stuff like that. They're looking for their moment. I mean, that's what they're doing. If you're a model, like a Jay, whatever his name is from One World, of course you're going to go on Survivor and starve for a little bit, and if you hate it, you'll quit
and walk around in a bathing suit. Yeah,
like, of course you're going to do that because that's going to help your career, and look how many people it's really helped. So, like, I think that's kind of what's happened. Like, Serene never wanted to go and be an actress. She was a nurse. She was a mom. That's what she wanted to be. Terry wanted to be a pilot. That's all they wanted to be. So when it all comes down to it, they're like, you're going to go home and be a nurse. I'm going to go home and be a pilot. Nobody even holds it over Shane's head, and he was ruthless to everyone.
Yeah, that's a really good point because they kind of like you said, people are going on to be actors and writers and work in Hollywood. A lot of people work for CBS now. Not that there's any collusion, but a lot of people just are elevated to these higher jobs. And back then it was about the adventure. And I've been saying this for a little bit now. One, I don't know how well I would do at Survivor in any season because
you get 15.
I would probably starve. But I couldn't play this current type of Survivor. I could not play it. I could play Panama. I could play Guatemala. I could play earlier seasons of Survivor. I could never play this kind because it's not about surviving anymore. It's not about the personal relationships as much. And I'm not just saying that because we just finished watching a season that had more twists than a roller coaster. It's just a very different type of game that we had kind of dissected in our previous podcast, but it's just a different style of play. And I don't think that like my gameplay would be conducive to that.
Wow, you just talked yourself out of ever getting on the show. Good job.
No, this is the game I'm playing.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, I think based on what we've said on this podcast, we're never getting on the show.
No, right? Yeah, I know, right? Like talking about how much like the editing and stuff sucks, and then like Will comes back and he's like, "Hey, man, I kind of like those people. I've spoken to them, and they're not as bad as you make them out to be. You dick."
Yeah, Will puts in 2 great words for us, and then we just like.
And then we just shit on everyone. Anyway, I want to talk about this Cirie and Terry argument. I really do.
Yes, let's talk. I actually have some notes written down about
Good, cool. Because I do think, what was it that really set Cirie off here? I forget exactly what Terry said that really set off Cirie.
So I think he said, I had to rewatch it. He said like, you'd be slapping your kids if they if they talk to you like that. I forget what it was, but
well, it was because she laid down the torch in the middle.
In front of him.
And I do have a couple comments on this, though, and I do have a couple comments.
Okay. To which she said, I don't slap my kids. And I think once you bring the family in, then it gets a little funky. So she said, I don't slap my kids. And then she said, make an attempt to talk to people the way you want to be talked to. And like you said a few podcasts ago, like that's the first time Terry got like a real dose of reality from like a reputable source.
And here's another thing. Him saying you would be slapping your kids around, he's not meaning you're literally going to be slapping your kids around. You know what he means in that moment. I think Cirie was just pissed that he called her out on it. Here's my one thing, and trust me, I got no problem with Cirie calling Terry out, and I think that Cirie is right here, that Terry was being a little obnoxious. Here's my one thing with how this all went down, though. Cirie is acknowledging that it's so dark, she couldn't see, so she just laid it down. You know somebody's walking behind you. So instead of like leaning it against something, you just lay it down. Like you know that someone's behind you. You're saying it's so dark you can't see. So you're just going to put it down.
But if it's so dark, how does she know there's a tree next door?
Well, what I'm saying is like, wouldn't you like toss it out of the way? You know that here's my only thing.
I don't know. No, I'm kind of with her on it.
No, I'm with her, but you know someone's behind you. So I could see why Terry would get annoyed that she lays it down literally right in front of him while she's saying it's so dark she couldn't see, so she just dropped it. And of course you'd be annoyed. Imagine you're walking back from Tribal. Once again, you're wrong. Once again, they vote out somebody you thought you could lie with, and you can't. Because now Shane is going home to smoke his cigarettes and eat his chocolate ice cream bar, whatever the hell he's eating. And this lady drops that right in front of you, and you trip over it. That, to me, is a natural emotional reaction, much like Aris getting mad, Terry's calling out his mother. It's a natural emotional reaction.
It totally is a natural emotional reaction. But the thing is, like, maybe Cirie dropped that torch every single night, and he just lost it at this one. So what I guess the point that I'm trying to make is, like, if I was Cirie, I don't freaking know, but I would probably just put it down because, like, maybe they'd walk over it. Like, it's just not a big deal. This is everything's been going like this, and it exploded. It's the breaking point. It's a breaking point.
Yes. I actually think this is like one of those where, like, the argument, what it was about, was not about the torch, and then
it was so much deeper than the torch.
You see that once Cirie is done saying her thing to Terry about why don't you talk to people the way you want to, it turns into 3-on-1, we hate you. It does turn into that. So this wasn't really so much about the torch. This was Terry being frustrated. And then not only that, he comes back and has to trip over Cirie's shit. And Cirie being frustrated that Terry still won't go away. and he's still annoying, and he's still calling them out on stuff, even though he has no pull, but they can't get rid of him. So that's them coming to a head, and then it's Aris and Danielle being like, hey, we got some salt. You got an open wound for us?
Like, are we on the yelling at Terry train? Let's choo-choo.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, everybody could see perfectly. They were like, hey, that guy.
All of a sudden, the camera shines on them. Yeah, it became such a high school argument because I have, which is like my least favorite argument of all time. Terry screaming at Cirie, don't get so upset, when he started it. Yeah. So when that came out, I was just like, this is so dumb. Like, please bring us to the next scene because I'm over this.
And this is probably, it's one of those instances, and we don't see it so much anymore. Maybe we do, and I'm just underthinking it. But because now you have the final 3 every time, and it's so much different than the final, like when you're at the final 4, it's such a different dynamic. I really think this is one instance where it's so clearly 3 against 1 in terms of like personality and what everybody wants and everything, that of course they're going to be awful to Terry. And we don't really see that anymore. So of course they want to just get rid of this guy, because normally by the time Final 4 hits, you either have 2-on-2 or it's 4 people who all like each other, and it's like, okay, we got to get rid of somebody. I mean, look at the Final 4 of Korong. Look at the Final 4 of Millennials versus Gen X. I mean, you see it all the time now. Even the Final 4 of Game Changers, you have Brad yelling at Ty, but really they liked each other that entire season. It was just Brad kind of lost his shit, thinking that he was going to beat Sarah. So this was an instance where you have 1 versus 3, and these 3 now have so much control that at this point there's nothing else that can be done. So why not let them have it? You've been trying to hold back at least a little bit, or Shane's been the one having all the fun. Now it's our turn.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And I think a lot of that, I think a lot of that changed in more recent seasons, definitely because of the final 3, but also because now alliances are so fluid. I don't think we're going to get another Terry situation, another like super tight group and then one person, because alliances, they come and go with the wind now.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And what's so funny about this is it's so clearly 3 versus 1. Aris goes on, wins the reward with the call the ambulance, goes on the reward with Cirie. Terry goes to exile with Danielle and says, want to learn how to make fire? And this is why Danielle goes to the villain tribe. And honestly, I don't have a problem with them using this as the excuse to send her to the villain tribe, because her and Terry made so many deals throughout this game that really for her to take Aris at the end is a little bit of... It's a little bit of a slap in the face. So I have no problem with them really sending her over to the villains tribe, because she's not a hero. I mean, Candace isn't a hero either, but if you have to separate the two, I would probably say Danielle falls a little bit more on the villain side, because 1, she was part of the Kasaya 6. 2, she took down Captain America after he helped her make fire. You know, Candace really just betrayed a bunch of people that end up being the heroes, but Ozzy wasn't really a hero before that. Ozzy becomes a hero because Candace betrays them.
Yeah, Candace is a hero because she betrays people so she can make out with Adam.
Exactly, which we all wanted to see. So
yeah,
yeah.
Anyways, yeah, no, that's completely right. I mean, and I think that's someone. Well, when we get to comments, someone said that, like, well, she just led Terry on the whole time and just cut his neck 3 times
for no reason. She was gonna lose 5-2-6-1 no matter what.
Yeah, so. She can be a villain. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
She was super funny. So it's right when Aris trips and falls and like breaks his back. There is just this hilarious like cut. And I want to make this clear. Before I say this, Aris sang her praises and said she was so helpful, like held it together. But you see Aris like slip and fall, there's blood everywhere. And she's got her champagne glass and she's like, I think you need stitches.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so funny. Like, oh, that sucks.
I remember watching that with my family, and everybody was like, oh, good, Terry's going to come back.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think that's how it works.
But that's like what everybody's initial reaction was like, is they going to have to medevac him? Obviously, you don't have to medevac somebody when the game's pretty much over unless like he literally like can't move, like he's like dying. But you're not going to have to medevac him. He can go and sit at tribal council with stitches in his body. But yeah, she is very much... I mean, she literally says, like, oh, man, I hope they drug you up. Drug him up. Like, which is...
Yeah, give him the good stuff.
Being more sarcastic, but Tyson was a villain, and he was just sarcastic the entire time, too. So,
for sure.
I think this Final 4, where Cirie at Final 4 makes fire, is so proud of herself. She wants to learn how to make fire, goes into that fire-making challenge, and actually builds up such an insane fire that you're like, wow, she did that so quick, it's over. And then forgets to add the sticks because she starts staring at Danielle's fire, and that's it. She's done. There goes Suri.
I know. Another, like, okay, so maybe you don't like, or you don't love this season because it gets so close. Like, everything is so close to ending up exactly as it was planned. And I think I like it because it's not. Like, Suri goes through this entire transformation. She gets up off the couch. She becomes the woman that she is. She makes a beautiful fire, both at camp and at tribal council, and then loses.
Yeah.
Terry gets so far and then loses. I think it's kind of like you can't plan life. Like, sometimes life gets in the way. So maybe that's why I like it. Well, now that we're talking about.
I think it's funny because, like, I was, like, comparing it to, like, in that mindset back then, I don't know what my favorite movies were. But, like, my favorite movies now, it's, like, American Beauty and, like, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and, like Lost in Translation, The Deer Hunter. Like, these are movies that, like, these are my favorites. Every one of them ends poorly. like it doesn't end positively for the person who has to overcome so much. All of them get killed by a Danielle or lose to a Danielle or something happens to the one you're rooting for the hardest where they don't win. A la The Deer Hunter. I know maybe Ice X has seen that movie, but I know most of you probably haven't. But, like, that movie ends where you're like, God, there's my favorite. He's going to get up. No, there it is. Okay, never mind. So, like, I just look at, like, my perspective now on things, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of like the things that leave a bad taste in your mouth because you're stuck thinking about them for so much longer. Like, you watch something like The Leftovers or something. Like, even that, like, it ends pretty poorly for everybody where you're like, okay, like, they wrapped it up with a bow, but, like, everything in between, you're like, damn, everybody's life sucked. Like, you're rooting for one thing to happen and it just doesn't happen. And
I'm totally with you. Like, I guess for a while I loved movies with happy endings and shows with happy endings, but my favorite shows are, well, maybe Lost isn't the best example. Breaking Bad is the best.
Lost ends miserably.
Not about miserably, but
everybody ends sad.
No, they don't. They end up going to heaven together.
No, they all end up sad.
In heaven? That's completely untrue.
But all of their
Lost Rewatch coming next summer.
Yeah, right.
But, like, Breaking Bad is a really good example. Or Game of Thrones is a really good example.
Well, hopefully Game of Thrones.
Everyone is... So it's not about the dying or the ending poorly. It's... Actually, Orange is the New Black, another show that I love. And the reason I like all of these is because you don't have... Oh, man, I can go so many ways here. You don't have your clear-cut good guys and your clear-cut bad guys. You have these complex characters who do these terrible things, but they aren't bad people at their core. And this goes back to what we talked about. Like, I'm being told that Walter White is a bad guy. Like, the producer came out and said, I can't believe that people support him. Like, he is a horrible human being. But people like him because he's your main character. Frank Underwood, like, he's your main character and we get his perspective, but he's not a good person. He killed people. Spoiler alert. Yeah. So that's what I like about those shows because people are complex in real life. Shane and Courtney are complex people. Aris and Terry are complex. They're not good guys and bad guys.
Yeah, no, and that, I mean, Lost is a fine example because John Locke from day 1 through day 6 or season 6, you have no idea if he's a good guy or a bad guy because his motives are all over the place. But you know you want to root for him because you see stuff about him. It's like the Shane thing. You know you want to root for him, and it's why, you know, when you watch Game of Thrones, Littlefinger is so clearly the best character on the show and so clearly the one that everybody should be watching at all times because he's just the most entertaining because he's not clearly a bad guy and he's not clearly a good guy. His motivations just are all over the place, which makes it so entertaining. So
motivations are just like
Littlefinger's the greatest thing that's ever been on TV. Some form
of Lady Stark.
And I'll be honest, if Littlefinger doesn't win, then that's the Terry of Game of Thrones. I mean, it's just so clear. Jon Snow's your Aris. Like, who the hell's rooting for Jon Snow at this point? You're rooting.
Jon Snow's your Aris.
You're rooting for Littlefinger.
Oh my God, this is hilarious.
Yeah, and Sansa or Arya is going to be the one who ends up choosing.
They're gonna do a fire.
They're gonna choose Jon Snow over Littlefinger because they're just dumb. But anyway, moving on.
How dare they pick their brother over the sketchy guy who's always creeping on?
Sketchy guy who's always creeping out, just wants to be king of the ashes. Like, let it go. But anyway, that's my Game of Thrones talk.
Massive creep. But anyways, that's to go on our exceptionally long tangent. I think that's why I like the season this much, and that's why I like these older seasons because they're just regular people who do dumb stuff and smart stuff.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And then okay, so then we got to talk a little bit. I know we're already at like an hour, and you probably want to go to bed or something because I know I want to eat food. But so we got to talk about this final three. I mean, so Danielle goes on to win. Terry's thinking like, "Whoa, I made it to final two," and this is like the first time ever you're like, Terry's not going to lose the game because unless Aris wins the last challenge, Terry and Danielle are your final two. Like,
oh, no, see, I knew even watching it live, I knew she wasn't going to take Terry.
You know, it's not as clear because I'm telling you, once again, you watch this with an edit, it just makes sense that Aris would get third and Terry would win. Like Terry's been fighting so hard and he's been the fan favorite pretty much. He's been your hero arc. It just makes sense that finally at final three, he's going to pull it out, get to final two with Danielle, swipe the floor with her, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And then they do this reward challenge, which is probably one of the best challenges ever. And I'm talking about it because of how close this was.
It was such
Aris and Terry climbing that damn wall is one of my favorite Survivor challenge moments because it is so intense. And even though it ends up meaning nothing because Terry wins and it's a challenge he was never going to win, that advantage there isn't really an advantage. I don't care. Like they needed to give you like what they give Malcolm in Philippines, where it's like if you fall once, you can get back up and get back on, and you got 2 more minutes. Because then Terry might win the challenge. Terry's never winning it with this, no matter what happens. But that challenge when they're climbing that wall, I still can't believe Terry ends up winning it. Aris has such a lead, falls down, gets stuck on his shirt, climbs back up, and what does Terry beat him by? Like literally a second?
And Aris has 2 pegs in there before Terry even gets there. Like Aris has it in the back. It's so good. That last like minute is insane. That's a great challenge. That's such a good challenge.
It's a great challenge because it's not like the Boston Rob just run up the stairs after putting the puzzle together. It's literally like you have to climb and you can fall at any moment. And that's what makes it so great. Terry starts screaming at Aris, "You're the ultimate competitor," that type of stuff.
Yeah,
which I think it's like intensity. He's just so pumped. He's so amped, and he can't believe that he just won it. And so it's like a half sincere comment. But anyway,
I think he kind of meant that.
You say a lot of really nice things to people after you just beat them by this much. It's when you lose to them by that much, you're not quite as nice. I don't think Terry would have been like, "You're the ultimate competitor" if he would have lost.
But he wouldn't have said that if he didn't mean it. That's what I'm saying. He wouldn't have gone and like complimented him after that.
Yeah, maybe. I think he was just so in the moment of like, holy crap, how did I do this? But anyway, that's beside the point. Terry goes on, wins this challenge. They go back to camp. Danielle and Aris are like, "God damn, this sucks." I love that Terry comes back and says it really wasn't even that much food. It was just 2 pieces of rice and vegetables.
Like 5 minutes worth of food.
It was a protein shake. It was water. It was rice. Like he just keeps going and going and going. And I'm like, when is it going to be not that much? That's a big meal for me. Like tonight.
Yeah, right? Seriously. And their stomachs have probably shrunk. So, yeah, I thought that was hilarious.
And he gets a caught. Like, oh, I'm sure it's so bad. Final 3 challenge, probably the worst final 3 challenge of the early seasons. And I don't mean this just because Terry loses. This was kind of them transitioning from the endurance to the more physical. And I honestly think that this is just a poor challenge for this because you're also in a situation where you have the people positioned where when waves are coming in, whichever way the tide's going, whichever person is on the outside is at a disadvantage to the person in the middle because they're honestly getting hit with the brunt of it. And like, yeah, you would think like, oh, it's going to roll over and everything, but you're getting hit with the biggest part of that swell because you have like the whole beams and everything right there. And I actually think that positioning in this challenge plays a big role into why Danielle wins and why the others lose.
Yeah, I mean, the person on the opposite end, it's the person on the opposite end who is the safest from the swells, or even the person in the middle, because it's just that first person who gets hit who absorbs all the power. Yeah. So, I get what they were trying to do there, because I'm all about the final challenge being like an equivalent. That's not the best word. Like
you want it on an equal playing field. I know what you mean. Everybody should be able to win.
Yeah, you want to have a chance there. So, and unfortunately, because of the way that the past like 20 challenges have gone, that meant that they had to make Danielle be able to do it. But the problem was it went too far because the person with the small feet, like
is going to win.
Lower center of gravity is going to win. So I don't falter. Like she won it fair and square. But I think because it was so like uneven with Terry and Aris winning everything, that they almost had to overcompensate in order to make it fair.
Well, and I'm sure they have the challenges designed well beforehand. I think they do have the challenges designed well beforehand. But my biggest issue with this one is you see the challenge where they have to hold the weight, and it's a percentage of the weight. This was before they actually did the feet based on how big your feet were. If this is going to be the fairest challenge, Aris and Terry should have a little bit bigger of a square. Because they have bigger feet, they have a bigger body. It should be like that. So, like, to make it equivalent when you're doing a strength challenge, but not to make it equal when you're doing this type of challenge, that's always been one of my biggest problems with Survivor. Is once they started doing it's a percentage of your body weight. Oh, it's a percentage of your body weight. I want to see Scoop and breaking a pole over his shoulders. That's what I want to see again. You know, I don't want to because it's just real weight. You
don't like the percentage of your body weight?
Well, what I'm saying is like I don't necessarily like it now because what they've done is they've made everything into a puzzle where where you no longer, people who are really good at puzzles always have the advantage in that. So why, when you do a strength challenge, does the person who has the most strength not have the advantage there? That's kind of like what my point is.
Oh, yeah. Like, well, my issue is the puzzles. Like, I think the percentage of your body weight is what you should do. I just don't think you should solve a puzzle at the end of it.
Exactly. This is what I mean. Like, I'm saying, like, they've tried so hard to level the playing field, and that's why there's so many puzzles and there's so many things like that where it's like, oh, well, you know, we're going to do just kind of like stand on a perch and do this and do that, blah, blah, blah. But you always see, like, when somebody puts their feet into the, you know, they're holding onto the pole, it's normally the people with the smaller feet who end up winning that challenge, not the people who have big feet. So, like, why is it that they don't mix that up, but they're so willing when it comes to a strength challenge to do it? If you're going to do these challenges and give advantages to the people with smaller bodies and all of that in certain challenges, then you should really give the advantages to the stronger people in the other challenges. And that's my biggest problem. I think that it should be percentage of body weight. I think it should be based on the size of your foot or whatever it is. But if you're not going to do it based on the size of your foot, then why are you doing a percentage of body weight?
Yeah, I think, and they overcompensated on the level playing field because now, why do the first 70% of a challenge when you can just go straight to the puzzle because it doesn't even matter?
Exactly.
So this is another like new school thing that I'm frustrated with. But
if you think about it, these early seasons, you had season 1, they just stand there with their hand on the thing. Season 2, I forget what the final immunity challenge is, but then season 10, which was right before this, or season 9 was Chris with the bow and arrow. Season 10 is them sitting on the buoy. Season 11,
standing on the,
them is leaning against the pole or whatever, where they have the rope. What's more fun to watch, that or like people just like struggle on a lily pad that you know they're going to fail on? I'd rather watch the other thing.
See, I think that's funny you said that because I almost like loop them all together, and so many people don't like those endurance challenges. And I get why people don't watch them because they're not as like aesthetically fun to watch as like Ozzy like zip lining down the ocean. But I always liked those because you can put yourself in that situation. I can't put myself in some weird spinning waterfall of death because I don't know what that's like. But to just hold on to a tree and to sit there for as long as I can, I can do that. Like, I know that that's like a normal thing that I could try and do. So as a viewer, I think that's why I like the endurance challenge.
And I like the endurance challenge for the last one because it should be a battle of wills at that point.
Totally.
I mean, you do get great moments. Like you had the great moment with Russell beating out Parvati at the very end or whatever that was. It's incredible. You have so many incredible moments that have come from the more physical.
Woo throwing $1 million out when he wins.
Yeah, you still have these good moments, but I like the old school mentality of it should just come down to mental toughness. Are you going to win this? Can you endure the pain? And if that happens, Terry wins. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind Terry beats Aris if it comes down to a mental toughness thing because he had beaten Aris in every other one of them. And Aris can say what he wants, but Terry was going to beat him in a mental toughness challenge. And granted, they had probably already decided this well beforehand, but to do this challenge, it was almost like a challenge of if there's a woman who's small left at the end, here's a challenge for her to win. Like, that's how it felt to me.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. What was I going to say? It was something, I don't know. I totally lost it. It was about these kind of challenges, but I don't have it.
Okay. Well, that happens.
Well, I think we dissected it pretty.
Yeah, that happens.
Pretty much.
Terry goes home. I really think he makes a good pitch to Danielle as to why. I'm surprised that Danielle ends up picking Aris, thinking, oh, they'd see the Kasaya loyalty. You would think that if they're really loyal to Kasaya, they'd vote for you if you vote out Aris. because you're beating out the Lamina people who have, it's you versus Lamina. And I get it. She's in a catch-22, a total catch.
Yeah, she's in a catch-22, but that's like the Ken voting out David kind of thing. Like, I think she would get crucified for getting rid of Aris.
But if you own it, if you sit there and say, I wasn't going to beat Aris, why are you guys going to vote for Terry? He's Lamina. I thought you guys were so Kasaya strong. This should be all about Kasaya, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have a choice. If I take Aris to the end, I know you're all going to vote for him to win. But I'm not going to sit here and get second place just because I know you're all going to vote for him. I'm sitting here against Lamina because it's Kasaya versus Lamina, and this whole game was about Kasaya versus Lamina. I think that's the only argument she had because there's no way she's ever beating Aris.
I don't know. I don't think she doesn't beat either of them as we go to find out.
But I think she has a better chance against Terry.
But I get where she's coming from on the she was right. She was like, Aris and I have voted everyone out. Terry hasn't voted anyone out because Terry's been wrong every single time. So for her to get rid of Aris as the last thing, that's her saying, actually, I wasn't really loyal to Kasaya. So I get that argument. She was in a catch-22, but I agree with that.
Yeah, she was screwed either way. Terry.
I also love that when she's writing down Aris, she's seen his name written down 100 times, and she still writes Aris.
Yeah.
And then writes Terry Terri.
So yeah, Terry ends up going home. It's sad. Everybody cries. Final 2 happens. Aris almost dies. Doesn't die. Just gets a bunch of stitches. Has to go into that tribal. Stitched up. I thought this was one of the best. I thought this was a really good final tribal. I thought the reunion was one of the best reunions. I know.
Also, before we go into the reunion, this is probably my weird undying love for Courtney, but
the worst. She is such.
I love her speech because in a weird sense, she's ahead of her time. What did we just talk about 20 minutes ago? About bitter juries, people can't let go. She said it in her own weird way, but if she framed it differently, you would like it.
Oh, I love it if she framed it differently, but she's still Courtney, and I still thought she was a tool.
but what she said, that's a whole thing with Courtney. Half the things she says are completely right. That was great what she said. I loved her speech, and anyone who makes fun of it can
fight about how you say it. That's what I've always been told. My whole life is not about what you say; it's about how you say it. Courtney says it in such a way that you're just like, "Oh my God, she's still talking," and that's how I felt.
But I liked what she said. To me, that was enough. It was very Courtney. It was exactly what I would have wanted from Courtney, and she's the only person who said, "You know what? You guys stabbed me in the back, but I don't hate you for it." I'm gonna give her that.
Yeah, you have an undying love for Courtney.
I actually don't. I don't as much as I used to. It was weird.
Yeah, but no, it's still shining through a bit.
Well, I'm a bird, so I gotta fly.
Yeah. Oh my God. When she said that, I was just like, I'm gonna walk.
And you see Sari again. They always cut to Sari when she talks. She's just like, what the F?
Yeah.
Then Sari goes up and says, "Well, I can't top what Courtney just said."
Yeah, and I also loved when Courtney comes back. When she goes down, she leans on Shane. When she come back, Shane is on the other side of the thing, please don't touch me.
There's a funny 115 about it, and it's a really short one, but it's so good.
I have to read that because that is such a funny little moment where it's just you've annoyed me for 39 days. Please get away from me. That's the last time. It's so good. So really good final tribal.
Great reunion. Let's talk.
Yeah, the reunion was great. I really thought you got a lot. I mean, Shane, when he smokes cigarettes, he is just so much more well spoken. He is so smart. He's a really smart guy. You can tell. I mean, the way he talks about Sari, the way he talks about just his family, going through the detox. Shane is just great. I love the moments they throw at Terry and Aris. Danielle's really awkward. Oh my God, I'm sitting here and Jeff's like, hey, would you have beaten Terry? And it's obviously she wouldn't have beaten Terry, Jeff. Stop getting your rocks off.
I hate that game.
Dominating. It's so bad. Sari getting all that love.
Jeff, I know there are 16 people, so that's 4 less than usual. But Jeff giving something to everyone. Even if he said, give me a quick hit. Nick was hungry.
Nick was hungry. Yeah, exactly. I love the Tina stuff. I mean, it's brutal, but it's so good. They needed to give her moment because she didn't get her moment. She got to go out there and talk about her son and everything, but she didn't really get her moment because she went home. And I love at the end of it after she's broken down crying. She's just like, if it wasn't for her down there, and it was screaming, I'd say it's great.
I know. And Tina, I said this at the beginning, but Tina is one of those players who will never come back because she's on an older, kind of more forgotten season, and she was the first person voted out. But if I could bring back 5 people, she would be in that top 5 because she could have been so good at this game, and she took it like such a champ. And with what she dealt with, It is so frustrating that she couldn't get as far as she could have. And it's like great that we got Suri out of it, but it was such a weird, crappy catch-22 for her. And also another thing I need to bring up, don't forget to pay your taxes.
Don't forget to pay your taxes. That was phenomenal because this was when Richard Hatch was going through all the crap.
Right when it happened.
Because it was right after, it was after All Stars, and then it was after a couple seasons, and then finally it started happening. It's just, please don't forget to pay your taxes. Great moment. I mean, it's a really good reunion. I really like how they actually jump around to, like you said, everybody. We actually
get HB.
Got HB for a while, and then finally Jeff's like, all right, HB, that's enough. Sit down. But Jeff
loving your wife.
Yeah, Jeff loves doing that crap, and I love when he's like, all right, that's enough. Like, Jeff, get out of here. Like, you're loving this.
It's like, you called him out there.
Yeah, well, this is probably the beginning of the end because they started going into the audience. But anyway.
I was about to say, it was a slippery slope on that one.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope after that. Who else did we not talk about? I don't even know.
Oh, Sheen spits when he walks into Final Tribal Council. Did you catch that?
No, but that's amazing.
It's
love
so
that.
Funny. It's like Shane, and then it's so funny.
Fantastic. Love it. And then we get Cook Island's preview, which is just it's so funny to watch these previews knowing exactly what happens in the season.
Oh my gosh, it's so hilarious.
I love it.
And it was in New York.
It was in New York.
When did they move to LA?
I don't know. And I will really, 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 really never understand why when they move them to LA, people who live in LA still can't watch it live. I will never understand that. I'll never get it. Like, we're watching it live, but it says live on my TV, and then it says pre-recorded at the bottom. And it's like, but guys, like, I'm living in the spot. I live closer to where that is than anybody else. And somehow I'm the one who can't get it live.
It's, East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, what a time. Shall we go to comments?
We should, because I'm going to eat my stomach pretty soon.
I'm pretty hungry, but I need to go to bed.
Yeah, you do. We'll start off with Ice X. Would the winner have been different with a final 3 instead of a final 2? I think 100% yes, Terry wins, because everybody who voted Aris would have voted Terry.
Yeah, heck yeah. The thing is, that jury, like, they're like rolling their eyes when Aris is talking. They were not pumped with him. So yeah, Terry walks away with it, no question.
Yeah, I think easily.
Yeah, Ice X again. What if Aris hurt himself so bad on the rocks that he had to be medevaced and was unable to continue? Does Danielle win?
He would literally have to like give himself a concussion and have to be put in a hospital to not go to that final trial.
But I'm trying to think, like, let's play with a hypothetical here. Like, he has to leave the island. It's so tough because, okay, let's forget about the fact that Aris is going to win anyways. Let's go in super even. Let's go in Ozzy versus Yul. You have to wait, but then you're talking to a person who is now paralyzed. Yeah. And how do you not give them $1 million? So I don't know what you do in that situation.
I mean, I think the thing is, like, if he actually had to get pulled off the island, I think because we're on day 39 and it's not really an advantage, they probably just been like, all right, both of you eat like a steak or something because he has to get the fluids. So you'll both be on the same level playing field. Like, they would have done something like that. They would have never pulled Aris at final 2 and not let him sit at that final tribal. Because
and you don't have a fallback winner that people would play.
Would have never happened. No. I'm going to read both of Tyler's here. Tyler Bellmeyer, in Probst Heroes vs. Villains cast he said Danielle was a villain because she led Terry on and cut his throat at the end. I don't think that makes her a villain. I think that makes her a game changer. No, but still, I didn't see her as a villain. I think she is a villain, and I think we kind of talked about why she is.
I mean, I think she's a villain. I think she's like a good person. I think she would, What did you say? Mental?
Most of the villains were good people.
Yeah. Coach isn't a bad guy.
No, why is everybody so mean to him?
Gamer Girl, is Danielle one of the worst people to make the finale? To me, she is. I take you one Danielle and raise you a Clay Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was she in our top. I don't know if she was one of our top 25 to make a finale and worst players. Somebody do your research on Phil and Will, because we did like the whole list of top 20 worst players to ever make it to a finale, and then we met one of them like 2 weeks later. Yeah. Which
I would not. I mean, I don't know, Gamer Girl. I don't know what number you want here, but I would not call her one of the worst people to make finale. I would not.
She's close, but I know actually she's not even. I don't even think she's close unless I put her in there. And back then, I really don't think that she's there.
Yeah, I wouldn't put her there. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't say it.
Gamer Girl, best part of rewatching the reunion. No TV bumpers that say the Survivor Panama reunion will return in a moment here on CBS. Ooh. Very true. Those appear often. They still appear now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Gamer Girl again. Is Aris the only person we injured during a finale? Eric doesn't count. He was medevaced. Wasn't Denise got bit by some creepy thing? I think that was technically in the finale. I think.
Did she? I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the final 4. She woke up with these like vampire bites on her neck, and they were like growing. So I don't know. It depends what you consider to be injured.
Well, I will say that Eric was injured because he got medevaced.
Because now we're getting technical. So yeah, Eric was pretty injured.
Yeah. Gamer Girl, why was there a reward challenge in the finale? That one was so pointless. The challenge itself was cool though. Here's my thing, and here's my biggest problem right now. I think it's a good challenge. I think that it's fine to have a reward in the finale. I mean, we see it in Color we see it every now and then, and it works. This, if you're going to go away from just straight endurance, this is your final immunity challenge. Because imagine if that was your final immunity challenge and Terry won by that much. It would be the greatest challenge of all time.
That'd be pretty. That would be
insane. So what I'm saying is, if you're going to go away from the endurance, go for the spectacle. Go for the huge challenge. Go for the crazy. Because what they did as the final 3 challenge, to me, that's not an endurance challenge because it's a balance challenge, which isn't endurance because I could stand on a pole for 10 hours, but I can't balance worth crap.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you on that.
You know, so.
All right, Giovanni Oriana, where does Aris land in your winner rankings after rewatching Panama? I've made it pretty abundantly clear that I do not have winner rankings, but I guess I have like a generic concept of where I view people. Aris has kind of like lowered a bit from where he was, but I also don't really know where he was.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard with winner rankings are impossible because this season is a perfect example of like you win if you're supposed to win. But I will say that Aris impresses me more, but I still think he makes a lot of mistakes. But all you have to do is win. It doesn't matter how many mistakes you make. So where would I put him? Below Michelle. He can be above anybody else. But anyway. Giovanni Rihanna, was Terry's reward better than Amanda's in China? I forget what Amanda's was.
I was about to ask. I was hoping you would know.
I don't.
I don't know. His was good. I liked it because it wasn't a like here's how you get 1/3 of the way through the final immunity challenge. Like an advantage in the final immunity challenge, I want it to be more of what Terry got because I don't want it to just be a given because then the reward is just like, well, you also win the immunity challenge with it. So I kind of liked what Terry got. He got the good night's sleep. He got a little food, quote unquote.
Yeah.
I'm kind of okay with
a 4-course meal.
Yeah.
Some guy named William Arbuckle just posted the podcast is boring.
This podcast is boring. He can go home. He should go back to work, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Giovanni Rihanna, did you see the Adam Sandler movie premiere in the reunion? You do see the quick, brief snippet of it. We don't actually get to watch the trailer, but it's Click, the funniest Adam Sandler movie, the one that is so funny and not sad at all. And unnecessary.
Definitely did not cry.
One of the worst marketed movies maybe ever. But anyway.
Giovanni Oriana, is Aris homeless like Shane said? Would you rather be homeless or live in a shitty apartment?
I'd rather live in a shitty apartment because I live in a shitty apartment.
Yeah, as someone who actively lives in a shitty apartment.
Yeah. Got Larry Miller. Who would Brian Gumbel ask the most sexual questions to? Danielle, Aris, Nick, Austin, Bobby, Misty, or Sally? I love that because
such a random group of people.
Well, especially since like we're just throwing Brian Gumbel in here, who hasn't hosted it since season 4 or 3 because it was before Rosie O'Donnell. Anyway,
Rosie O'Donnell,
definitely 100% Bob Dog, just because Bob Dog would give the best answer.
Isaacs, Aris also released an album in 2011 called The Tree in the River, using the stage name Odd Us. I think Odd Us is his Twitter name.
He claims that he allegedly says that his name is pronounced Oddus.
Well, actually, that would make sense.
It would make sense, but he also calls himself Aris or something in the game, or somebody calls him Aris, or one of his family.
None of them can roll.
No, one of his family or something calls him Aris. Like it's pretty funny that they don't call him Aris.
Oh, that's funny if his mom.
Yeah. So I think I remember when I saw it's supposedly pronounced Oddus. I'm like, wait, that makes sense.
Wait, it's not Aris.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, The Tree in the River. That's such a name that he would do.
I'm telling you, you got to go look up those hats. Blake told me about them this weekend, and I was dying. So
all right,
funny.
I gotta Google those. All right, should we scoot?
We should scoot. Yeah, we can't do the Larry Miller one because then that would require me to be not who I like being. So can't talk about that. Ryan Chan, Courtney's final tribal council question is one of the most entertaining questions.
Heck yeah!
So much delusions about her getting backstabbed when she was trying to get out Aris. The best is when she compares herself to a bird that needs to fly, and Cerie is trying hard not to laugh. Feel that is up there in terms of entertainment, along with Natalie Bolton trying to flirt with Parvati in her final tribal council.
I love Natalie Bolton. Natalie Bolton's final tribal council question. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, it's great.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Giovanni, Phil and Alexa, you guys are wrong because you haven't played Survivor. ... I'm joking. He drops the I'm joking so he knows we don't jump down his throat.
Yeah, but maybe we will anyway.
Yeah, probably will.
Gamer Girl, if Aris doesn't have brainwashing powers, then how come people warm up to him so easily? By the way, if he did have brainwashing powers, I think it would be his eyes.
It wouldn't be the perfect hair that everyone sculpted for him.
I love that Jeff throws that in there.
Yeah.
Like, what was up with the hair?
I'm glad I'm not the only one to notice.
Yeah.
To Arcs 13. Hey, Arcs 13, you're back after we verbally berated you. I agree with you guys that Danielle should be gone by now. She should have been gone either the Courtney vote or Shane vote. Maybe they're keeping her as a goat. Yeah, I don't know, Danielle. But her and Terry, wake up. They kind of have a thing back and forth. Yeah, it's I don't know.
No, she's definitely more of the goat there, but I also think that Aris thought he could beat her, and I thought Terry always thought that he could use her. Mm-hmm. Let's see. We got Gamer going. Aris's face while HB was freaking out was priceless. Yes, that's back to the other one too.
Yeah. Arcs 13 to Phil and Alexa like Brain Steal, the site where you can create your own Survivor season. I've never even heard of this.
Yeah, well, if you would podcast more, you would heard of it because we talk. People ask us about it all the time. So
wait, I've been on this podcast for a year and no one's asked.
People really ask about it a lot. We just normally skip those questions.
I read all the questions.
Yeah, but a lot of them we skip. You might have just forgotten.
I didn't. I would have if I had read something. I would have remembered it. Vladimir,
Judge.
No, please, after you.
Well, it is my turn, isn't it?
All right, please.
Yours was a bad read, not my fault.
I actually read it perfectly. Okay.
Going back to the comment from the last podcast by Binero, I agree fully. In fact, I'm from Slovakia. I watched Survivor from the beginning in local TVs, but they showed only 4 seasons, and then they stopped. I love it so much I was writing to all the TVs to broadcast it. No one was interested when finally a friend of mine went to the U.S. and brought me Pearl Island's DVD. I watched it during the weekend and ordered anything, which was available on Amazon. Fortunately, it's so easy to get it nowadays. Anyway, great podcast. What you've done here, by the way, what happened to Will, by the way, read our thing.
Wow,
click
that's
the link.
fascinating.
There you go.
Yeah, I love the commitment.
Yeah, I mean, people, that's why it's been like popping up all over different countries and stuff because it's just such a popular show anyway.
That's awesome. Vladimir, again, I still don't understand why Terry did not give Danielle the immunity idea after the votes were read at Final Four. He would probably still end third, but he would have at least had the knockout argument. I'm reading this wrong. But he would have at least knocked out one argument Danielle was telling him, something in the sense it would be no-brainer if you'd given me that immunity idol. You never know. He might have played some psychology on her. I was a little surprised he didn't give it to her.
Nope, I know what the reason is. It had to be in her possession. After the votes were read, he couldn't hand it to her. It had to be in her possession.
Oh, yeah. No, I meant, like, why didn't he give it to her at the beginning?
Because then they would just all vote out Terry.
But they wouldn't have known.
Yes, they would have.
Unless Danielle told them.
Danielle would have gotten the idol, known she was safe, and probably just been like, hey, guys, Terry doesn't have the idol anymore because he gave it to me. What an idiot. That's exactly what would have happened. They would have voted out Terry like they wanted to. And then the 3 of them would have went at it. I think that's 100% would have happened.
Okay, talk confidently about it. I don't 100% think that would happen. I'm sorry.
It would have happened because they wanted to get rid of Terry. When it's the 3-on-1, they all want to get rid of Terry. Terry can help Danielle see how to make fire. Danielle gets that idol from Terry. Terry's going home.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go on.
He's going home.
Are you this comment?
No, this is you.
One last comment. Despite just rewatching Panama and Guatemala, rationally, I don't see a reason why I like Panama so much more than Guatemala, but I still do. The emotion's there. I guess it's a certain vibe to those series that makes me differentiate them so much. It's like I still don't like Boston Rob, even though he's a great player and great TV. It's the vibe that's a negative. Thank you very much. Yeah, the vibe. You bring up a good point with the vibes.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like Panama is a more negative cast, but the overall vibe of the season feels more upbeat.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's because no one's dying after walking 11 miles in the jungle.
Gamer Girl, do you think Shane and Troyzan are anything alike? I think yes, probably, but they don't smoke. Troyzan doesn't smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, I wouldn't like immediately say they're right, but like I could kind of get that.
They're probably just two
Giovanni
different
Oriana.
characters.
The thumbnail of Shane is the face of a serial killer. No, that's a guy who isn't madly in love with a cheeseburger.
Yeah, that too.
No, it's the other one. Yeah, no, he looks like a serial killer. You're right.
Yeah, no, he looks like the Grinch in the Jim Carrey Grinch. That's what he looks like.
It's so funny.
Yeah. Giovanni, I don't think there's a big difference between Aris and Danielle. They seem pretty similar to me. In their next games, their mistakes aren't horrible. Yeah, I kind of agree. Really, it comes down to Danielle aligns with the wrong person, but had she not aligned with that person, she wouldn't have made it as far. And then it comes down to Aris was just so much of a threat, but there was really nothing he could do because it came more from the fact that him and his brother were viewed the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'm going to skip Ryan Chan. Oh, Ryan Chan again. What would have happened if Aris got medevaced? His fall was more serious. Would Danielle been the sole survivor by default? Or maybe Terry gets brought back. In the French version of Survivor, they replace the person whose quits or is medevaced by the last voted off player. Wow. That's crazy. Wow, that's pretty crazy. I didn't realize that.
Like that, to be honest.
I don't like that either. If you voted out, you voted out.
But I do like that. I do like the new rule, like that Survivor wouldn't keep them around anymore.
Yeah.
So at least there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Selly11395, would you want to see an all old school returnee season and a new season of Survivor? I personally would. I just don't know how they would edit them, because you saw kind of what happened with Kimmy, where she didn't really get much of an edit. A lot of the new school players went out, or a lot of the old school players went out early in second chances. Varner was really more of a personality, which he always was a personality. But I would be very curious.
Kelly Wigglesworth like even there?
Yeah, Kelly Wigglesworth didn't get much. So there's so much focused on strategy now. But I almost feel like if you did all old school players, they would have to figure it out somehow. Like Savage had no idea what he was doing, but I feel like they would figure out something.
Yeah, for sure. The Real Negros, Survivor Panama almost made me stop watching Survivor. I watched every season when Panama aired, and I just couldn't stand seeing my favorite players go home on day 38. Terry, Rafe, Ian, John, Rudy, etc. Thank God for the Cook Islands and the great final three, because Survivor was turning in seasons where the runner-up had no chance. We knew the winner even before final travel. I'd love to see you guys review seasons like Africa and Marquesas, because those, in my opinion, are real Survivor seasons. We actually almost rewatched Marquesas.
Yeah, it just didn't get enough votes.
Yeah. And it was pretty cool that we watched back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, no, that actually worked out pretty nice.
Yeah, I liked that. Are there any more?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Oh.
Gamer Girl, I still understand to this day the point of being to be continued episodes in reality competition shows. This did not feel like a two-part finale to me. This could have easily squeezed a fire-making challenge into the previous episode. I also love, like, to be continued was always based around, like, a sitcom where, like, everything's wrapped up in one episode.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's so funny that, like, a show where clearly it's an overarching storyline, like, is like this. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's not always to be continued.
Yeah, no. Gamer Girl, again, does Jeff always wait and watch for the contestants to come to Tribal when Tribal Count starts happening? I noticed this during my Amazon rewatch, too. I don't know, because this one, he's, like, standing on a mountain. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, he's always standing there with, like, his hands behind his back. That's all. That hasn't changed.
Yeah, I don't know. Args13, during Aris's confessional before he fell on the rocks, you noticed Danielle walking up. Is that the first time in Survivor has had a cameo in another Survivor's confessional? That I'm not sure of, because I'm pretty sure in season 1 there are a lot of times where people in the back, like when Gretchen's doing her thing about Greg being crazy, there's people in the background like building shelter or something.
Well, it happens twice in Guatemala. I love confessionals like that because it makes them super real. So it's not the first time, but I liked it. But they cut it off before she said anything.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Args 13 again, are the rites of passage, or the memory walk, as some like to call it, a second final words for the contestants. That's how I saw it. But on the plus side, I love the music to it. Wow, you might be the only person to have a good thing to say about the rites of passage. I actually kind of like it, but I did skip it in this one for the sake of time.
Yeah, I mean, I get why they got rid of it. I mean, it's pretty corny.
It is pretty corny.
You know.
Especially when they have this like positive, uplifting thing to say in their second final words, but then they like rip the person to shreds like in an hour.
Yeah. Binero, do you think the producers give them some facts about the locations of the rewards they have to tell in their confessionals? Aris talking about the Panama Canal sounded like a memorized entry of a lexicon to me. They definitely probably do talk about. I mean, the guy on the yacht is probably explaining to them what's going on.
For sure. Yeah. Giovanni Oriana, I know what happened to Will. He's traveling back in time to correct Survivor Gabon, so Maddie will win. Go on Heroes versus Villains, win that season. Go on Game Changers, line with Tony, ultimately win against him, and become the only 3-time winner.
That's a lot of love for Maddie, which is very weird.
Yeah, I like him, but I didn't know anyone liked him that much. Go Maddie.
Ethan Hazel, how many more seasons do you guys think Survivor will have? I'm saying at least probably close to 10. I just don't.
When Jeff's done, it's done.
Yeah, I think when Jeff just finally has enough. But
I do not want a contestant to be the host. I don't care what anyone says.
Unless it's me. Justin Milligan, is this a dumb move by Aris that worked out? Had Suri won the Fire Challenge, no matter who he takes to the final tribal, he probably loses to both Suri and Terry. I don't know if he loses to Suri necessarily. I think people respected Suri, but I don't know if she necessarily. I think they both have the same.
I think it'd be close. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the closest final 2 out of the final 4.
Yeah, because I think Suri did orchestrate a lot, but I don't think they would believe her.
Yeah, exactly. Giovanni, I think Panama is Gabon and Worlds Apart done right. Gabon is Gabon done right. So that's
Gabon was right.
Yeah.
Ethan Hazel, season 20 is a secret scene where it shows Russell, Parvati, and Sandra going to Ponderosa. The contestants leave not even a day after the game. Not a question, but I just found that interesting. The final 3 don't get to enjoy Ponderosa. Yeah, I think they kind of ship them home like the second is over.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they do, because I remember Adam was kind of talking about that in Millennials vs. Gen X.
Yeah.
Giovanni Oriana, Danielle tends to poke the bear a lot, especially with Shane and Russell. Lord knows what Judd would do to her. Yeah, she does definitely egg them on a little bit, but she's got that personality. I mean, it's not a bad thing. She's got
and to be fair, these bears that she's poking would kind of just attack anyone within like a 10-mile radius of them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, this is a very fun fact. Suri has played with 7 winners.
Yeah, that's interesting, but she's never played on a tribe with like 2 of them.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Aris, Sandra, Parvati.
She played with Parvati.
Sarah.
But she wasn't on the tribe with Parvati.
So what does Giovanni mean by playing?
Well, she's played with all of them. They've all been on her season, but it's very interesting that she hasn't been, even though she's played with 7, she was never on a tribe with 3 of them.
Yeah, no, that is cool. When you said
Aris won, Game Changers was Sarah, Heroes versus Villains is Sandra.
She's never been on a tribe with
Sandra.
No.
Yeah, and then she was never on a tribe. She was on a tribe with Tom Westman. Yeah, but she was on a tribe with Parvati. Oh, she was on a tribe with Parvati. Yeah, what am I talking about? Because Parvati was on her tribe in Micronesia. So it was actually 2. But anyway.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Tristan B, which tribe is more enjoyable to watch? Kasaya 6, Aris Danielle's, Suri, Shane, Courtney, or Bruce. The second Nuku tribe.
Ooh.
I mean, I love the second Nuku, but they were everything that could go wrong went wrong for that second Nuku tribe.
We just got like a taste. Like we didn't even get the whole thing. At least the Kasaya 6, we got the whole season pretty much.
Yeah, so I would say Kasaya because pretty much everybody from that Nuku tribe, Aubrey didn't do too much. Michaela didn't really do all that much. Varner, we know. Sandra goes. JT doesn't play the idol. And then Malcolm does his thing. I mean, that would have been a great final 7. It's just not a great...
Yeah, it's just like almost like the season kind of just fell apart really quickly.
Yeah.
Giovanni Oriana, the reason why Suri was able to do so well in Micronesia is because she got the edit that she got off the couch. It wasn't spotlighting her strategic abilities. Therefore, by the time Heroes vs. Villains began, the buck was out on her. That is a very good point.
That's a very good point. Yeah, everybody knew she was a great strategist because Micronesia, her strategic game is insane.
Yeah.
Giovanni, the Terry Suri argument is like an unstoppable object trying to move an unmovable object. I mean, yeah, that was
happening. No matter what.
Bad. Nostalgia 714. I watched this season for the first time during this rewatch because my first Survivor season was Blood versus Water, and I went back and watched the seasons before. I'm on China now. Panama was a pretty neutral season to me, but I still loved it for the unique people on this season. Almost all of them had a different story. It'd be great if Shane could come back. It was also weird seeing Aris after seeing him for the first time in Blood versus Water. Yes.
Ooh. Confirmed. Gamer Girl, but Aris agreed to get out of the challenge. Remember Aris and Danielle nodding to each other in the final challenge. Oh yeah, we kind of forgot to bring that up.
Is that the last comment? I think that's the last comment.
That's the last. That's all. Apparently, we have one more.
But okay, anyway, with that, I think that's total BS. That's what Aris held over Danielle's head, because honestly, I think that if you're dumb enough to jump off the platform because somebody nodded at you, that's on you. Screw it. That's on you.
I mean, I don't know if it was BS. I think he was already like piling on like the guilt trip. So like, what's one?
Yeah, I think it's part of the guilt trip, but I think it's BS that maybe he did think that for a brief second. But
I think he was playing her.
He was playing her, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
I think
it's BS. What I'm saying, it was a BS move for him to be like, oh, I only jumped off because Aris was falling off the next minute anyway. It didn't matter.
Yeah, it was like a kind of like a dirty play.
It was
a dirty play. So that's it. I think we're all good with comments.
And
so with that, we have finished our rewatches of Guatemala and Panama, and these really killed some time. It's mid-August. We have a month until the season starts.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can spend an entire month trying to say heroes versus healers versus hustlers in a relatively normal way.
That's it. And Will just kept commenting the entire time, Gabonis top 3 season of Survivor. So guys, he doesn't disappear. He's still around.
Yeah, he's still here, surprisingly, after how much we've insulted him.
I know. So that's that. I guess hopefully the cast is announced at some point. We are going to change up the logo. That is going to happen. That is
for everyone who. Oh, go ahead.
Alexa has the banner, so she's going to change that up. We're just trying to change up the other logo. So, Will, if you're still listening, we just have to
send it over, please. We kind of need it.
But anyway, we're calling you out because we know you're watching. Anyway,
for once, yes. So, anyways, hopefully the cast will be announced within the next week so that we can kind of keep this once-a-week podcast going. If not, we'll be back once the cast is announced, and we'll be coming in hot, talking about season 35. After we have complained so much about the new school seasons, we are just diving right into one. But yeah, keep following us on Twitter. Leave us a comment on this video. Or tweet at us, and we'll talk about what's going on with season 35. Look out for a new banner, new logos. Anyone who's ever wondered where I was, they are now on my computer, and tomorrow I'm going to not do work at work so that I can make a pretty new banner for us.
There you go. So we will see you soon.